some candidates, when they invite them for interviews in Canada, they'll be like, I'm a finance manager with 5 years experience. I'm very enthusiastic about this role. I'm a people person. You're looking for someone with great interpersonal relationship skills, and that is what I embody. Uncle, you don't embody anything. That is not how to embody anything. Obviously, you don't have great interpersonal relationship skills from what you have just done. If this is you and you have an interview coming up soon, this video is for you. Let's roll. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm shooting from one of the bus stops at Honor Avenue. I just thought, you know what, I'm gonna come out of my house today and shoot this video. So if this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. Please do not leave without subscribing. You will love it here. Welcome to the family. For my returning guests, of course, you guys rock. You guys are simply the best. Welcome, welcome once again. So before we start this video, please check out my previous videos. I'm going to link them in the description box. I'm also going to link some of them up here. Check out my video, how to land a job in Canada, building a Canadian style resume, tailor your resume. Check out those videos because they would help you, and they're videos leading up to this point. So now you have gotten your resume through the door and you have now been invited for an interview. And you need to do well, obviously, because getting a call back or getting a call for an interview is actually a big deal. And you don't want to blow that opportunity that you have now gotten. Interviewing across board in any country is the same thing. But in Canada, there are a few nuances, there are a few things that they are very particular about, and that is what I'm going to be addressing in this video today. The first thing I will talk about is non-verbal communication. Now, this one, I know that you may have heard this before, but in your home country, it may not really be a big deal. As if you don't have a great personality, or if you don't have interpersonal relationship skills, it may not really be a big deal as long as you have the right technical skills. But here in Canada, honestly, technical skills are important, yes, but you see that personality. When you walk into a room, that personality that shines through, that is what the hiring manager wants to see. It is very important for them to know that you are someone that they can have a conversation with, you're easy to flow with. Those things are very important here. Until when you enter into a room, have a lovely smile on your face. A smile that, is from the heart. I'm not saying you plaster a smile on your face. You're not interviewing for a toothpaste ad agency, okay? But just have a smile that, that radiates when you walk into the room. If it's even also a video call, because now, because of COVID, most of the interviews you'll be having are done remotely. As soon as you turn on that camera and you join the meeting, have that smile on your face. Trust me, it helps a lot. And it just makes them see you as, the next thing, the other person on the other line is also smiling. And it's kind of just infectious. So before you even start talking about, how you want to contribute to the company or the things that you want to do, that smile on your face, that persona, that personality, they already see it shining through and it's just hitting them, and they're like, oh, this person is actually great. And then they can now ask you the questions, that reflect your technical skills. So you need to practice it. It's not something, not everybody has that personality. Not everybody is a smiley kind of person. But you see here in Canada, to scale through interviews, you need to be that person. You need to smile. You need to be happy. You need to look enthusiastic about interviewing with this company. You need to be just a happy-go-lucky person, more like. But don't overdo it. Look in the mirror, practice in the mirror, look at yourself, ask a friend to tell you how you look. The first thing you say, say a few words to yourself in the mirror and see how you look, because you also don't want to look ridiculous, right? So just do all those things. Practice, practice, practice. Hiring managers are looking out for your tone of voice. They're looking out for your facial expressions. Don't be overly, don't shout, don't raise your voice. Just have your voice at a normal pitch. Your facial expressions should not be all over the place. Your eyebrows rising up and down. That's definitely not a good look. But at least, let everything just blend in nicely. So that when you start talking, it just automatically tells them that, this is someone that we want to listen to. So interpersonal relationship skills, nonverbal communication in general is something that is very, very important when you're going for any Canadian interview. And you can ask any other HR person, they will tell you the same thing. They want to see that enthusiasm as soon as you turn on that camera or as soon as you walk into the room, as the case may be. The second thing I will mention is small talk. Now, if you haven't watched my video, Making Small Talk in the Workplace, I'm going to link it up here again. You see, I have all the videos. Anyway, if you haven't watched my video, you need to watch that video because there I emphasized on small talk and the importance. And of course, during an interview, if you're interviewing with any company in Canada, small talk is very important. They need to be able to you just chat about something that is not too serious. And small talk is actually very good because it helps ease you into the interview nicely. You and the hiring manager or the recruiter have already had like one or two bands back and forth. Before you know, you are already calm because let's be honest, even if you are a professional, I'm in HR, and even when I go for any interview, there's just that, you get a bit nervous at the beginning. It is completely normal. So don't think that, I'm not sure there's anybody that doesn't feel nervous when they want to go for interviews. It is normal. But you see that small talk, it helps to just diffuse whatever tension you already have built up and just helps you ease into the more difficult questions better. I recall one of the interviews that I had when I just came to Canada, and of course it was a remote interview. So the hiring manager joined relatively late. So when she turned on her camera and everything, she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'm late. I really don't know what happened to my network and everything." And the next thing I said, I was like, "Oh, no worries at all. Trust me, I've had my own fair share of this whole situation." I'm like, you don't just know when your computer will just decide to pack up. I've had instances like that. And she was like, "Oh my God, like technology, you really don't know, like they have a mind of their own." And those were like the first few things that we said to each other. And I must tell you, that interview went really well. Some other people in that instance, maybe she says, as she said that first thing that she said, they might not be able to say anything in return, which would actually generate some sort of small talk. But you need to be able to do that. It's not easy. It takes some practice and it takes some, quick thinking on your feet. But it's something that you must do. Because that way, everybody's smiling, everybody's talking, and then the next thing they now enter the interview proper, and say, "Tell me about yourself." At that point, you're already relaxed, you're calm, you would remember everything that you have, probably looked up before the interview. It's just easier for you. And like I said, hiring managers are looking for people that have a great personality, people that are easy to talk to, and that is what your ability to small talk in an interview does for you. So please, this is something that I think that you really need to practice. You really need to know how to small talk when you're going for any interview in Canada. So the third thing I'm going to touch on is the fact that most interviews in Canada are the questions they ask you are behavioral based. Okay, I don't know if I said that right, but I hope you get the point. Those questions that start with, "Tell me about a time when you did this," or "Tell me about a time when you did that." Those are the kind of questions that we see here in Canada. Most people that have attended interviews have spoken with a number of people, and it's the same pattern most times. They want to know, they want you to give instances where you have displayed certain characteristics or certain competencies. Right? So tell me about the time when you faced a challenge, or, tell me about the time when you disagree with your boss. All those sort of questions, they actually ask them. So what I always advise is that if you can look up some of these questions, just Google them. They are everywhere. You can Just Google, behavioral questions, Google them, and sit down and, think of your experience, think of the things you have done in your previous roles, and see the stories that you can bring up from there. Use the STAR method when you're answering the questions. That is situation, what the task, action, and result. That is always a winner in any interview. That is the format that most Canadian interviews follow. So if you can nail that part, then you are well on your way. Just try and come up with those stories. And like I always say, don't lie. Try not to lie, because most hiring managers, tend to dig deep. When you tell them a story, they don't just leave it at that and say, no, that was quite interesting. They ask you a lot of follow-up questions on that one story. And if you lied about the story, you know how it is when they're not asking you follow-up questions and your lies start to, hit each other and, they're not adding up. That is not what you want for yourself. You need to make sure that you're truthful. If you haven't had those instances, you can look for something that is remotely close to what they're asking. But if you've not faced any of those things, it's okay as well to say that you haven't really had those instances, but this is what you would do if you were faced with that kind of situation. That's another way to go about it, rather than cooking up one story that you cannot defend when they start to delve deep into what you did and all other follow-up questions that might accompany that story. So yeah, this is one thing that is very common in Canadian interviews. Practice, 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 practice. It will help you, and you'll be able to nail the questions as long as you have practiced. The next thing I will talk about is the fact that you should try not to boast about your accomplishments. I think this is a general rule of thumb anyway, wherever you're interviewing, but more so in Canada, because Canada is really a country that is based on humility. People are not proud here. If you've not watched my video, Are You Sure Canada Is For You? I will link it up here. You need to watch that video so you will know if you need to come to Canada or not. Now, Canada is not a country of, proud, boastful kind of people. So if you bring that kind of attitude to an interview, it's usually a turn-off. I mean, I'm not saying that you should not talk about things that you've done in the past. Of course, you need to talk about your accomplishments, but there is that thin line. There's that thin line between boasting and actually just, reliving your experience and talking about your accomplishments and what you can bring to the table. There's a very thin line. Sometimes it's almost even blur. But you need to learn how not to cross that line. I don't know how to explain it to you, but I just feel like you would know when you are also crossing that line, And when it comes to interviews, don't look at the interviewers' faces. You might be boasting about your things and they might be having this smile on their faces, giving you an impression that everything is going well. But that might not be the case. So the fact that they are smiling on the other side of the table or on the other side of the video call doesn't necessarily mean that they are feeling you, if you know what I mean. So as much as possible, just try to keep things professional. Try to keep things, talk about your accomplishments without boasting. Don't blur that line. Now, the other point I would also mention is that in Canada, what I see often is post-interview thank you notes. Honestly, where I come from in Nigeria, even in my experience as, a recruiter and all of that, I don't think I've received too many thank you notes. Maybe just like a handful that I've received. But apparently it is a thing here. Like when you go for an interview, you send like a post thank you note to the interviewer, especially if you have their email. It's something they do here very often, and I see it a lot. So while it might not be something that you're used to, maybe it's something that you might want to adopt just because you're in Canada and you want to blend in with the culture. So maybe it's something that you want to adopt. But I must say that in that thank you note, try not to be too patronizing. Don't be too patronizing. It's not the time to tell the interviewer how awesome they are or how you love their hair or whatever, all of those things that some people do. Well, anyway, I hope nobody does it. None of my followers will do that. No. Anyway, try not to be too patronizing and try not to sound needy. yes, you need the job. We know you need the job, and we know that you really, really would appreciate it if you get a call back. But try not to be too needy in your interview notes, in your thank you notes. Okay, so if you want to send it, fine. If you don't send thank you notes, it's not a problem at all. It's not a rule of thumb. It's not a rule of thumb that you have to send a thank you note. If you don't send it, it doesn't mean that you won't get a call back. The interviews that I had when I came to Canada, I didn't send a thank you note. I think I've only sent maybe one or so, and I don't even think if I got a call back for that one. I can't remember. But what I'm trying to say is that whether you send one or whether you don't send one, it really doesn't matter. But if you feel like you need to, just because this is something that they do in Canada, by all means, please do. On a final note, when interviewing in Canada, there are certain things, there are certain questions that Canadian interviewers do not ask by law. Questions that border around your age, your race, your gender, disability, a couple of things like that. They don't ask those questions. In your home country, maybe it's usual for you to even put your age on your resume. Like in Nigeria, people do that, put their ages on their resume. Here in Canada, if you watched my video, Building a Canadian Style Resume, I did mention that you do not need to put your age on your resume. It is not something that people do here. In fact, don't do it. Let's leave it at that. Try not to put your age on it. And, if you go for any interview in Canada, which is rare though, but if you go for any interview and they ask you some questions that border around or that border on those things that I mentioned, age, race, all of those things, you can actually decline to answer. You're well within your right to decline to answer. Don't be confrontational about it, but you can tell them politely that, you would not be answering that. But think about the question carefully. Don't be too quick to dismiss it. It might not necessarily be, not because I said, oh, you can't touch, and then you just go there and, and scatter everywhere. That's not what I mean. But think about the question carefully. If it's really something that you feel like it's not supposed to be asked, then you can actually politely decline. It's okay if you don't get a call back, that's fine. At the end of the day, do you really want to work for an employer who, asks those kind of questions and who breaks the law, if you know what I mean? So if you don't answer, it's okay and it's completely fine. But don't just be confrontational about it. Overall, interviews are standard, they're standard principles, they're standard things. But in Canada, there are nuances that are just peculiar to Canada, which is what I've talked about. So guys, that is the end of this video. If you found it informative, please hit the like button. For my HR professionals in the house, if you have anything to add to this video, please drop it in the comment section and let us help someone out. If you're going for an interview anytime soon in Canada, I wish you the very, very best in the interview, and I hope that you get your dream job. Hit the like button again, subscribe to my channel, share this video with anyone that you think it will be helpful for, and I will see you on my next video.